Good morning, everyone. We're here in this beautiful church. It was built in 1892. It was built using field stones cut right from here in the Pembina Valley. And so we're going to just thank the local congregation here at St. Mary's St. Albans Church for letting us use their space. And they continue to meet here every other week. So it's cool to be able to do this in their space, and so I just want to thank them. In Exodus 25, we read about God meeting with Moses on the mountain, and during this conversation, God instructs Moses to tell the people, "Make a sanctuary for me, and I will dwell among them." From that point on in history, the history of God's people, really, these buildings have played an important role in our life as followers of Jesus. The Temple and the Tabernacle early on were where God made himself known and the people drew near. A place where the people of God would bring their sacrifices and would worship God with their offerings, often located in the middle of their villages or camps. David, in our verse that we want to talk about today, talks about wanting to live in that place and to abide with him in that temple. David wants nothing to do with a temple tour. He wants to set up residence, not because of the building has value, but because that's where God is. To be in the presence of God, to talk with and be with him. We're going to be taking a look at Psalms 27 verse 4 this morning. And in it we find David expressing his desire for being with God. He seems enamored at the prospect of being in the place where the Lord is. So chapter 27, verse 4 reads, "The one thing I ask of the Lord, the thing I seek most, is to live in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, delighting in the Lord's perfection and meditating in his temple." If you could ask God for one thing, what would you ask? Most of us, if we're honest, are going to ask for something, specifically something that God might be able to give us, some blessing or some gift, or perhaps some way that he might provide for us or someone we love. Another way to ask the question, what's our motive in our pursuit of Jesus? Why are we coming to God? Why is it we talk to God with our prayers and our thoughts? We can go about it the wrong way at times. My prayers can sure come across with a feeling of where I view God kind of like a vending machine, where I say as a way to kind of get what I want. That's when I give him a certain amount of time or serve him and do something for him, that maybe he'll answer my prayer. That if we want healing or wealth or blessings, that we need to go to God. When I hear of someone's desire to go to heaven, I sometimes wonder, do you want to go to heaven because you get to escape the pain and the sorrow of earth? Or do you go wanting to experience God? That we just want to kind of get on with the earthly pain, and we want to experience the joy and peace of heaven. At times we pursue the fruit of God more than God himself. David's exposing something in our hearts in this verse, that we shouldn't merely draw close to God or desire him because of his gifts. Sometimes something else should be motivating us to pursue him. God is not the means to an end. God is the end. So when we talk about God, to ask something of him, we don't merely do it to seek out an answer or a solution, but rather to seek out God himself. Prayer and religion is not so we get what we've asked for. Prayer is the pursuit of relationship. David expresses his desire to be where Jesus is, not so that he gets all that he wants or needs, but so he can be with God. I think a helpful question for us to consider is, do we primarily see God as useful or beautiful? Some versions of this verse talk about gazing on the beauty of the Lord. And the Hebrew word used here for gaze is to see or to perceive, to contemplate with pleasure or to look and behold. To know the beauty of God means to know who he is and to experience his love, to know his true character, to see him as excellent and witness the perfection of his character. David could think of no greater occupation than to fill his mind and heart with the goodness and greatness of God. David talks about setting up residence in that place and to seek him and meditate on him in the temple all the days of his life. And he refers to a place where we are seen by God and a place where God is known. This is what our hearts were designed for. This is what we were created for. This is where we're intended and designed and created to find ultimate fulfillment. For David, this wasn't just a fleeting moment of passion. This was about a lifelong pursuit. Pursuit is the evidence of desire, and if you actually want to be with Jesus, it's going to be marked out by how you live it out. I read a saying this week that said, "Desires are seed which must be sown in the good soil of activity, or they'll yield no harvest." And as I thought about this, this person came to mind, and her name was Mary of Bethany. And there are two stories of her in the Bible sitting at the feet of Jesus. We find them in Luke 10, a story where Mary is sitting at Jesus' feet listening to him teach. And then John 12 is a story where Mary anoints Jesus' feet and then dries his feet with her hair. Two great stories, but I think what stands out is that Mary, with all the pressing things she could have been doing to make sure that the dinner party went off without a hitch, she simply sits or dwells with Jesus in a completely unhurried manner. She finds great joy and delight in his presence. And this is what David's describing. In both instances, Mary is unconcerned with those around her. She worships Jesus and takes in who Jesus is and what he is saying. Jesus commends Mary for choosing the better, meaning Mary's desire to be near him and listening to everything he was saying was more beneficial than running herself ragged in preparation for a meal. David makes it clear that he wants to dwell where the presence of God is, and to me, I see similarities with his stories. To us today, we know that Jesus came to earth, and the Holy Spirit came to live amongst us, and that the place of Jesus' presence became the people, not the physical church. While we see lots of benefits to life and faith and community with others, life with God is not meant to be just a Sunday experience. God longs for us to take up residence in his presence. We're not meant to run off the fuel of an occasional encounter with God. We were made for a relationship with God that has many daily points of contact. It isn't just about this weekly occurrence on Sundays that will fuel us and get us through. It's a constant part of our lives. So as we think about Psalm 27, verse 4, and David's desire, may we also see Mary's taking that desire and putting it into action and sitting and being present with Jesus, taking in, listening to his teaching, and being with him, sitting at his feet. Jesus, would you help us seek you for who you are, not for what you can do for us? That as we sit at your feet, we become captured by your beauty. That as we think about all you've done for us and the intimacy we can have with you, that our hearts would draw in and experience the purpose and wholeness that we crave. May our desires take root in action, that our lives are fueled by frequent encounters with you. Blessings.